Hello, folks.
Hello.
Welcome to the new Thrive podcast. Our new episode for the 0.4.2 release. Woo! Okay, so let's do the intro. I can hear myself. Oh no,
No, that's a good thing. It means it's working.
that's true. Oh god, this is awkward. All right, so I am Untrustedlife, a programmer. Uniow, who are you?
I am a graphic artist. And I draw mostly.
All right, TJWhale, introduce yourself, please.
I am TJWhale. I do a bit of theory stuff, which means mostly Googling for facts about microorganisms at the moment. And I also do a bit of designing for the microbe stage.
Oliver.
Hello, I'm Oliveriver. I'm a music person and sometimes also like an outreach person and a graphics person and various other things person.
Nine's mic is currently muted. Hhyyrylainen.
Hi, I'm hhyyrylainen and I'm the programming team lead and I don't know what to say. I've introduced myself so many times already.
Yep. Dak.
I'm Dak28 and I'm programmer. Try to help Untrustedlife awesome programmers to this game.
All right. So we didn't really plan out this podcast. Fun fact.
If
All
we ever
right.
do.
Sometimes we do. Not like the last 3 times. Okay. So how should
We should probably
start
by saying why we're doing this stream now.
For sure.
Thrive 0.4.2 as of today. Yay! Go play it, download it, explore it, break
Yay.
it. Go to our website to take a look at that or the trailer up and things.
It's a pretty good release too. I think everyone's really pretty proud of what they've done because in the last week it really came together really nicely and it's got quite a lot of cool features. So I think that's really good.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. We have we have sunlight finally as an environmental compound. We have different patches. We have a awesome new graphics engine that makes everything look absolutely beautiful except for the cave background. And a bunch of other cool stuff. Oh yeah, we also have a free build editor now.
And the patch map. Don't forget the patch map.
Yep, and that the free build editor has been a long time coming because there was an attempts made at it way back in 2014. And it never made it in, but now we have it.
So the record holder for that is the predatory pilus, which has been planned for a long time, but it never quite makes it. It's always the top feature for every patch, but we never quite get there.
We can have that as the top feature for the next one.
It's the top feature of every patch, it's for the next 100 years. Like.
So I suppose
it's great.
I suppose we should start. We'll talk about the release at some points and the features we've added to it and what we've each done for it. We'll also be answering questions throughout, both from the chat on YouTube and the thread we put up on the forums. I'm not sure which we decided to do first. Questions on the forum are probably a higher priority because people got them in first. For the rest of you.
Okay.
Yeah, also, I'm looking for the pilot model. When I find it, I'll post screenshots of it to prove that it will be implemented at some point.
We've had various pilot models over the years.
Well, I guess this one is gone. I don't know where it is.
Well, of course, you have to make a new one for each patch. That's the tradition.
Yep. All right. So
we're just piling on with the piluses. Piley.
We need to add conjugation, you guys. We need new life cycles. Mitosis is, mitosis is cool, but we need more. Anyway.
I actually can't find it.
So the first question from the forum is, it's basically been answered already. Will the world you play be procedurally generated? Will the planet change as in the patch map over time? Yes. Okay. Second question: will organisms be able to develop different kinds of toxins? Yes, that's the whole agent system. Develop resistance to certain kinds of toxins? Yes, that's the whole agent system. How do you guys envision?
Sorry, is it worth mentioning who's asked these questions?
Oh yeah, sure. The first one was Alikio. I don't know if that's how you pronounce that. And then Magic 8 Ball 04. This next one is Andronius. It's their first time.
Can I just say a few words on the previous question, the one about toxins?
Sure.
I was thinking a bit about it, and one thing I quite like the idea of is trying to use okay, so one big problem we have in the game is what we don't want to do is make a bunch of separate mini games where you swim around as a cell for a bit, and then when you finish with that, you forget it, and then you run around as a monkey for a bit, and then when you're done with that, you forget about it, and then you start playing in a city. Like, we want to kind of have each stage building on the others so that they feel really cohesive and tied together. And one thing I was thinking about was, could we use the microbe mechanics in any way in future stages? Because microbes are a really important part of animals' lives, and they're really important in cities and all this kind of stuff. And I wondered, with things like toxins and agents specifically, like, we could maybe do some cool stuff with that. Like, for example, when you're running around as an animal, you can kind of design your immune system, and that means you sort of design some cells in a cell editor, and then maybe you program the agents to be good at fighting the specific diseases that infect your creatures. And another idea I thought of was maybe, like, during the civilization phases, you could kind of design something like yeast. So the way, I guess, yeasts get designed by humans is we do selective breeding. So you brew 100 batches of beer, and then whichever one's the most alcoholic, you take that, and you take the yeast from it, and then you propagate them on. But that does give you an ability to kind of farm these microorganisms in a relatively intense way and change how they work. And I wondered, it's just a pure blue sky thought about, could we make a system around agents or around toxins and things such that your cell could produce quite a lot of different chemicals and that kind of stuff? And could that then be used later in the game for things like yeasts or biotechnology and that kind of thing? I don't know. So I don't know if I'll do that, but I just thought it was quite an interesting one.
Yeah, no, that's an awesome idea.
If we've already taken the time to build a cell editor, then we might as well use it.
Hey, Pilot's model. It's been posted.
Latest one.
No, like
the toxin things is because that's a whole agent system which has been planned for quite some time, and currently consists of just shooting X's at other cells. So toxins, and some toxins will in fact do good things, like an agent that organelles in nearby cells, or makes nearby cells follow you and stuff. It's quite a lot of scope for things you could do with that, and it's probably going to be a major part of the microbe gameplay once it gets in. I think there was some. Was it TJWhale? I may be misremembering, who suggested we had some kind of food matching system, resistances to toxins. So, like, you develop certain codes, the toxins, and then the codes are represented being immune to those toxins. And if you got the same codes, then you were immune to certain toxins. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I think that was basically what we discussed. I'm not sure whose idea it was originally, but it's basically kind of like a lock and key system. So the agent is the key, so you program that with 10101110, and then each organelle kind of has a lock on it. And if the key matches the lock, then that agent will impact that organelle quite a lot. And if the key is very different from the lock, then it won't really impact it at all. And it's meant to be like a loose model of protein binding, because that's kind of how proteins bind onto things and do stuff, is they sort of have the right connectors to connect onto things. But then it's quite cool because you can kind of design an agent to do anything. So you just pick a species and pick one of their organelles and say, that very fast species, I want my agent to shut down its flagellum. And then you target it to that, and then you can sort of just fire it in the water and it will shut down that flagellum. And or as you say, there could be opposite ones, which, I want to speed up this other process, or I want to cause other ones of my species to flock near me. If there's other sort of locks you can get at, then you might be able to do other effects. And also it creates this evolutionary arms race where one species keeps adapting their keys to be better at unlocking some other species, mitochondria or something. But then the defensive species gets to keep changing their locks to try and stay ahead of it. And so it creates that kind of Red Queen hypothesis thing where everyone's always editing their locks and keys to try and stay away from the other people's locks and keys.
That's a better explanation of what I was trying to get at.
Yeah,
Pretty
no,
cool.
that's an awesome idea. And I think that's been part of the plan for a while now, hasn't it?
Like it.
Yeah, I think so. I think the questions I have around it are like, how does it work in the water? Like, are you dropping a cloud that's like a compound cloud, or are you dropping, or is it more like a burst particle effect or something that sort of just goes away?
And what happens if a species descends from that species you were previously targeting? Would the toxins still affect them? Who knows?
Yeah, that's a good one about how do these locks evolve over time? And another one is about path finding. If I spray a load of agent in the water, are the enemy cells just going to blindly go straight through it and get really badly damaged? Maybe that's fine, maybe that's intentional, microbes are stupid and you can do that to them, but maybe we'd need some kind of pathfinding system that would make them avoid things that were bad for them. I don't know if we'd need that.
The point about the visuals of them, I think having the clouds is probably the best idea, but then distinguishing them from compounds have their own colors already, and there's not much in terms of distinctive colors left. Considering agents will all do different things, it might be quite hard to color code them.
That was kind of solved. I had one texture that would replace the cloud texture, so it will be easy to distinct which one it is, because the
the texture would be different.
Yeah, the texture of the toxins will be different, and I'm looking for the screenshot actually right now. I don't think I'll find it.
Hey guys.
That's cool.
Hello.
Hey, Zuris.
Who?
Zuris, please introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Zuris. Yes, also known as Wolf sometimes. I'm working on the launcher, even though these guys pretty much know how that's going. Here's a hint. I'm not. Here's a hint. Not very well. I have timing issues, basically. Well, I have time management issues, basically. But yeah, I'm, even after 8 months, still trying my hardest to work on a rewrite of the launcher.
Apparently somebody disliked the live stream, you guys.
What? Yeah, I see you.
Chad is freaking out over it.
I've played this card before, but
I played this game.
A thumbs up instead.
I'm carefully watching chat.
Like and subscribe and all the other YouTube things. Yeah, I can sell my soul out for
crucifixion time.
Yeah. Oh, someone else has this. No, that went wrong. That.
Thumbs up to go direct. All about a single dislike results in us getting 50% on top for likes.
Yeah.
The Steam only.
Zuris' sake, we were initially going through the thread where people ask questions for this live stream.
Yep.
So,
finished
on the toxins one?
Yeah, I think so. At least I finished.
So I think that pretty much answered both those questions. Will we be able to develop different kinds of toxins that are specialized? Yes, we will. And will we be able to develop certain kinds of toxins? Yes, we will, but the details haven't been hashed out yet. So we're not sure what happens if a species evolves from another one. Do they inherit that? Maybe. We're not sure yet. We haven't gotten to it. But does anyone else have anything to say on it? Should I take the lack of answers as a no? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the next question is by an individual named Andronius, and this is the first time they posted on our community.
Welcome, Andronius.
Welcome. Okay, how do you guys envision the space stages to be? How do you guys envision the space stages to be like? Will you direct control the species' entire civilization, something akin to Stellaris, or would it be something closer to No Man's Sky in the Spore space stage, where you only directly control one individual / single starship? I've also heard suggestions about something in between on Discord with a society editor to influence civilization, otherwise remains independent of you, yourself playing as a single starship. So it's definitely going to be more like Stellaris, but society editor. We could talk about that.
Okay. Do we have enough knowledge of that already?
I don't know if we do, really. Isn't it more like... I know we've had plans for a while where it's like, oh, you can edit your government and economic system with sliders, right? I think that was how we wanted to do it.
Well, yeah, we wanted something a bit more granular, especially games like Civ, because they're not really simulations. They're more kind of... You have the tech tree, place things in... You enact policies. That's not really very representative of how it works in reality.
I think that's a good point of the distinction between, like, what if you sit and do nothing? Like, in a game like Civ, like, nothing will happen. It requires you to do every action. Whereas in a game like Crusader Kings, for example, you can just press go and leave it and just sit there and do nothing, and the world will kind of occur around you. And I guess, yeah, you're right. You probably want to be on the latter end of that, of, you know, a simulation that's happening whether or not you interact with it.
Civilization alone and wait for them to teams and
Oh god. More like it'll happen on top of your top of your ruined corpse after they take you out as an easy target.
The thing I quite like is that there should be a tech in the late industrial stage where you can develop the Thrive project, and then if you run and build then it just starts the game again at the beginning. You know, it starts down as a microbe again in a new game.
Oh god! Oh god!
I feel like you could do that and then build Thrive within Thrive. You could probably get an achievement.
It's Thrive all the way down.
Yeah,
it's like the Turtles.
Thrive.
It's just Thrive all the way down.
It's Turtles all the way down. It's Thrive all the way down. Thrive inside of Thrive inside of Thrive, and just keeps going on and on, and eventually you get an achievement once you've recursed about 100 times.
Hey, Untrusted, how can we be sure that we're not in Thrive right now?
We can't be.
Well, I know some way. Let's see if we can get banana biome to reappear.
Oh no! Nightmares.
Banana biome, but it's real life.
One surefire way of knowing whether you're in Thrive or not, if there is a banana biome somewhere.
Well, we have bananas in real life, guys.
Well, we have a banana.
Microbes might live on top of them. Oh no!
If you adjusted life, I'm gonna send you in something DMs in DMs when I find it. There we go. Oh, open link, copy image, and
banana plantation. Oh no! Quick, everybody start making a loud noise so we can trigger the banana biome. But that is the reason it happened, was because we ran out of assets because so many sounds were playing. That caused the banana biome bug to happen.
Adjusted life, I sent you something in DMs.
So basically, it was like a summoning song for the banana biome. You just play loads and loads of sounds on top of each other.
Oh no.
I think we've derailed ourselves from the question here.
Yep, we have. All right.
Yes, we have.
That was probably my fault. Sorry.
That's all right. All right, let's move on to the next one. T King asked, when will the pilots be added? We already answered that. They also asked when we will add Cilia. Similar. Low Skill asks, what are the plans for 0.4.3? Hey, this is a good question. It's already been detailed in the devlog a little bit, but we could talk about it here. What do you guys think?
Well, first off,
sure.
you can find the plans on the thread that hhyyrylainen has just posted in our chat and in your chat.
And got mirrored to their chat by Boost113.
That's me.
Who's hhyyrylainen?
Oh, right.
How it works is we kind of have a discussion thread, like that one's open at the moment, and we'll discuss for a week about like all the possible different things we could do and all the kind of ideas around it, and then we'll kind of pick a few out of that and then kind of put them together. I don't know how everyone else feels, but like I feel it'd be quite nice to try and get into a kind of 3-monthly cycle with releases. I was hoping to do that with this one, but obviously the patch map is kind of just like a giant thing which only works when it's fully completed. So that was always going to be a bit of a difficult one to time properly. But hopefully we can pick in a sufficiently few things that will hopefully get them all done and put in. And obviously Thrive is so hard to time anyway, because we never know who's going to be around, and you know, real life comes first for everyone. But hopefully we can get a bit better with each patch of kind of working out how much we can kind of fit in that kind of time scale.
Thrive comes first, then real life.
No.
No, real life comes first and then Thrive. Open source, volunteers.
But yeah, I think...
so I'm not sure what we'll end up doing. I mean, clearly the Pilus is both a community favourite and a team favourite, so that's got to be in there, you know, but I'm not sure about other stuff.
What is
Yeah.
the Pilus?
I definitely want us to iterate upon our new auto evo system to at least get it to the point that the old variant of it was functionally. It's a much better way of going about it now, but I just feel like there's less evolution going on at the moment because what?
That's it.
Sorry. Features just said banana Pilus, please.
Banana Pilus.
That can be the April Fool's event.
Oh god.
That'd be a great organelle.
Oh god.
But on the point about the releases, I think trying to get them more regular is a good thing. And set deadlines and try and stick to them, even though real life does come first. It will never be developed as quickly as something that wasn't made in this way. Somehow, after all this time, so perhaps there's some reason to have faith in it.
5 years.
I also think there's one thing around it is that we are lucky to be a volunteer team in terms of like the cost of paying everyone who is now on the team, and for like per hour would be really high. Like we've got some really talented people who would be very expensive to hire if we wanted to pay the same thing. So there's kind of pluses and minuses that we only get kind of the offcuts of people's time, but it's, you know, really good people giving a little bit of time. So.
Uniow just posted something great in the podcast chat.
Oh god, you know.
Ooh, we have already.
But yes, so the plans for 0.4.3 are being drawn up as we speak, except not as we speak because we're doing this. You can follow the thread, follow the progress updates. The progress updates, we should probably talk about the progress updates. DonGororo and Lavathor aren't around, but basically they've been spearheading an initiative to keep people more, because we've things regularly on the website, which is where most people follow us. So we've just decided, every week we'll just post what's happened in a very brief kind of bullet point list. It's worked quite well, I think. It's very, very useful for archiving purposes, actually. It's good to go and look at it and see what's actually happened in a period of time so we can do a bigger update. The website every Saturday.
There's a thing with Thrive as well, I think, where it's a bit like a bonfire, that the more people who are doing stuff, the more it makes other people want to join in, because it's like cool and exciting and progress is being made, and that's great. Like the real low times when it kind of all dies down, and it's like when the channels are quite quiet, it's hard to be the only person talking in a room, you know, it's a bit difficult. And so I like the weekly updates for that, because it has that reflexive quality of you can see that other people are doing stuff and that's cool, and then that sort of thing, oh yeah, great, well it's worth doing stuff because other people are doing stuff, you know, it helps with that.
Difficulty we have is sometimes we're over reliant on individuals to do things, like and to do the entire engine switch, basically. And that stopped a lot of progress. To a point where we have more people on the team and several people with the same skill sets, so they can sort of take over work if other people have real life issues. We have a very high bus factor, which I think we've mentioned before, which is if someone were to get hit by a bus, what would the ramifications be?
Yeah.
Because taking one person out of the equation would be quite bad if it was someone like hhyyrylainen or Untrustedlife. But right, just based on individuals for the moment, and hopefully we can reach a point in the future where we have a bigger team that's more self-sufficient.
I mean, I like stopped working on it for like I stopped like regularly posting a bunch of updates for like a month or so, and the project went on fine. But now I'm back, so
We're very grateful for it.
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah, I agree. If like hhyyrylainen, something happened to hhyyrylainen or any of the team leads, really, like things would be messed up. Like I don't know if the project would be able to recover quite as well as you would hope. But yeah. So we just got to spread
Well,
the
somehow
knowledge.
somehow we've got this far with that high bus factor and everything. Like, people have not really tended to stay around in Thrive's past. We've had a relatively stable team for the past couple of years. But before that, like, people would come and do something and then disappear rather shortly after. And you would think that that would cause the entire project to just stop, but still keep coming on board, I guess because the idea is so attractive.
I think there is something a bit special about Thrive. It's weird. Like, I think one thing I find as I get older is the more games I play, the harder it is for any individual one to be interesting, because you kind of played a million of that same thing before. But I've never played a game like Thrive with so much kind of scientific realism in it. There just isn't really. There's Kerbal Space Program is another good one, but there's just not that many out there that are sort of this type. So that's, I think, one reason that keeps me attracted to it.
I can't wait for KSP2.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we talk? So I think that's pretty much covers low skills question a bit. Magic 8 Ball made a comment that's not really a question, so I'm not going to answer it. And Blackjack Psych asked a bunch of questions. 8 of them to be exact. The first one of which is, will the pause menu work? What version will feature this fix? I'm not sure about the pause menu or when that'll happen. I know it requires some pretty fundamental engine changes, correct, hhyyrylainen?
Well, not really. Like, basically one Boolean flag that don't run the game systems, and setting methods for that. So, like, the pause menu would trigger that none of the systems run, and that would pause the game effectively. Not that much work, but it seems no one else has wanted to do that. So, but it isn't a priority on my to-do list. So.
Yeah,
I think that's one of those ones that's going to be hard to fix because it's never going to feel like we have to do it, so it might get dropped. But I don't know. Hopefully, we can get around to it.
I feel like it has some scope for some interesting additions. Like, I'm a big fan of the old fossilize feature where you could select creatures in your environment and say, I want to save this for later. And you can just save whatever evolution is created and perhaps use it in a free build editor.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's something you can only really do with the pause menu.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Number 2. Will the other species population be reduced? It has been seen in the dev edition of 0.4.2. The species have populations over 1,000 and the like, while the player only has like 200 or so. So that's because the player is treated differently population-wise than the other species. Basically, the player's population, the only thing that matters about it is, has the player gone extinct or has the player won yet? The rest of them are actually factoring into the auto evo and stuff, so their numbers will just look larger. We could artificially like do that for the player. We could be like, oh yeah, every time you enter the editor, you get like 100 population, and you know you need 2,000 to win or whatever. But like that's a pretty weird one.
It does now actually affecting because the player population now affects how many individuals of their species spawn. So it does affect things a bit, but
actually had a discussion recently about we would
go ahead.
tie the I didn't. What did you say?
Go ahead.
A discussion recently about how we would tie this into tie the player's actions into the auto evo system, based on Nick's auto evo algorithm, which he's been posting to in massive updates each time on the forums, and they're very fun to read. We had some thoughts about how do we make the gameplay actually affect anything, because it's like design the perfect creature and then just do nothing during the gameplay and just get to the editor at some point again, and your population will explode anyway because you've just got the perfect creature and it's the best adapted, and auto evo thinks, yeah, let's keep evolving that one. Whereas if there was some way of like tying the player's actions into the success of their species, then it would be much better and would give much more agency during the gameplay itself.
I think that's a good point about you don't kind of want to have two separate games which don't influence each other, because then one of them feels really pointless. So yeah, you want to have them nicely meshed together. So I also agree with your point you were talking about it's preferable to have the player's actions while they're swimming around influence the parameters of the CPA system,
yes,
rather than the outcomes of it. I thought that was an astute difference. That if you run away from a particular species a lot, then maybe your species in the CPA system simulation also runs away from that species more frequently. That's really good because that feels very harmonic with it. Whereas if you say every time you die you lose 30 population, I mean that's been a great placeholder for us, but it is kind of not tied in so much with the rest of the system.
Right, and when you kill like an enemy cell and it reduces their population by 50, for example, like that's all very it's all very surface level. Ideally we would have like heuristics that are like, oh yeah, you happen to engulf things a lot. Okay, let's increase your chance, the AI cells of your species chance to engulf things, for example. That sort of thing. And that would make the players actions actually impact the behavior values of their species, of which we have several, which are basically sliders right now that are just sort of kept at the species level.
I'm glad I've managed to convince everyone of this. So, a more natural system.
But yeah.
Sorry, I'm not talking much. I just really don't have any idea what to say right now.
I feel like I'm being a bit quiet as well, even though I'm the one reading off the questions. TJWhale and Oliver have been handling this pretty well. Okay, Blackjack Sykes' third question: what are the future compound and process rebalance decisions? We just did some rebalancing in TJWhale, didn't we? How about you talk about that?
I think Blackjack felt a little bit that I don't want to put words in his mouth, but that maybe he preferred it before when energy was quite abundant and easy to get, and I've actually made it quite cruel now, and it's much harder to get energy, and it's quite a different game. So I think I guess maybe it's related to that. I don't know. Ultimately, I think my hope is that we've done a good step towards fixing organelle gluttony. that in the last patch, you could just, it was really easy to make a massive cell and just swim around. You never had to think about it at all. Whereas now I hope that there's quite a lot more non-viable cells, that if you just load your cell up with 10 metabolosomes and just don't do anything else, that it will just continually die and be useless. And so you actually have to start to think a bit about how you're going to get energy, what energy sources are available, how are you going to manage that and how are you going to use it efficiently and this kind of thing. So hopefully that's a bit more interesting. So in general, the future will be about trying to get it so that every time the player is in the editor, they're trying to solve some complicated optimization problem with the changes they're making. So they're saying things like, I really wish I could be faster to catch that specific species, but I can't afford to spend the extra energy, or, but doing that would mean I'd need more, metabolosomes, and then that's going to cost me efficiency of my cell and this kind of thing. And a bit like Kerbal Space Program, you're always thinking about all the things that you'd really love to add to it versus the trade-offs of doing that and how hard that is. So hopefully we're moving in that direction, and this has been quite a good step, and we'll keep making more steps as we go forward.
Maybe the disagreements we've had about balance changes have affected the game are an argument for adding difficulty levels some point soon. So you would have lots of compounds available, and it would be fine to create a massive cell. Whereas on harder difficulties, the more realistic ones, it's as you said, you can't just stick a load of stuff on a cell and hope it works.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. I think one danger of adding difficulty levels, which each have a different balance, is that then you've got to do first 3 levels. That's kind of 3 times as much balancing work with each patch. So we introduce a new feature, and you kind of have to balance it for easy, and then balance it for medium, and balance for hard. So that might be a bit tricky. It might the difficulty levels at the end, maybe when when you've got one system that you really like, then it's a bit easier to kind of make an easy version than a hard version. But yeah, I mean, I agree in general that we could offer people different experiences. I mean, hopefully the vent at the moment is an easy zone because it has hydrogen sulfide. There's just tons of that everywhere, and it's really hard to run out of energy because there's just tons of hydrogen sulfide everywhere. And then the abyss, I've balanced that to be the hardest one. So there's only like small little bits of marine snow. There's no iron, there's no light, there's no hydrogen sulfide, and so that one's a much harder area. So I guess the player has a bit of choice there about where they're going to go and how hard that's going to be there.
Yeah, I imagine hardness to be like how hard it is to live on a planet more than just selecting the difficulty. Like if you had, for example, a planet which has extreme temperatures, this would be like the hard mode, and more habitable planets would be easier.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And also questions like asteroid impacts or volcanic eruptions and stuff. If that happens a lot, then that might make it very difficult to survive. But if we turn that down to very low, that might make it quite easy.
So Magic 8 Ball just asked a very interesting question in stream chat. Has anyone had success in making sessile cells like in mobile? So we do not have currents yet that affects cells, and I just thought it was a great question. We don't have currents yet that affect cells, so it's kind of hard to play as an immobile cell right now. But once we add currents that affect the cells, because right now the currents only affect the chunks in the compound clouds, then I think it'll be much easier for us to implement sessile cells properly. The AI has a behavior value that will stop it from moving around. So the AI supports sessile cells, assuming they evolve in that way, behavior-wise. So that'll definitely make it in, and I think it'll definitely work really well. And a bunch of us on the dev team have tried to play as plants in this current version that we just released, and we've noticed that while difficult, it's definitely something that's totally doable. And once we have currents, it'll be even more doable, and I think it'll be awesome. But anyway, sorry about that, you guys.
I think currents are worth mentioning. So
plants don't really have a way for producing phosphate. Will that be solved in the future?
That's the whole idea. Would be the currents would bring you through phosphate, right? Just randomly.
Okay.
Yeah. Like we don't want to just have an organelle that lets you create phosphate because then you just sit there. And that's kind of boring. Still need to seek out phosphate a little bit or wait for the currents to take you through it. But yeah, no, I think that's something that's definitely awesome that we should definitely make sure works well at some point.
think the mobility of your cell should influence what kind of a feel you have in the game. And you're just not moving much, then it should feel quite slow and relaxing. Predator who's constantly chasing things, it would be kind of like just a very quick sort of shoot 'em uppy game, except with pilosis.
One other thing that me and TJWhale talked about earlier was having sessile predators that are like, so they're basically predatory plants. And we're not sure how to factor that into the auto evo yet.
How would that even work?
IT plans.
Crazy plans. But anyway, I'm gonna, even though Blackjack Psych has like 5 more questions, I'm gonna move on to the next person. Would we ever see radiation as a hazard? Asks on Papa. We're likely at it. Guaranteed sunlight is radiation. To see solar, but what about nuclear? And if nuclear radiation, could we use it for energy? There's actually mushrooms that exist in real life that can take radiation. Like they like grow up, they like pop up around nuclear reactors, and they actually can make a little bit of energy from the radiation, I believe. I think it's called radiotrophy.
I've heard that too. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that is a thing.
Yep, here it is.
Yeah, radiotrophic fungus.
Someone tried to implement that as a mod for Thrive. I don't know if it's still a thing being worked on.
A point that DonGororo brought up, which I thought was quite interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but the idea of making all of the patches a bit more like have a bit more terrain and have kind of hazardous areas and things. So like one might be that hydrogen sulfide is toxic if you're not a chemosynthesizer, or another one. So that could be quite a cool one for radiation, that you could have a little rock in the thing, and if you get close to it, you start getting damaged, and so you kind of learn like these ones are radiation. These ones have radiation, and I can't get too close to it. But maybe if you're a radiotrophic fungus, then you can get close to them, and then that causes you to gain energy or something.
That means you're just when organisms
ahead.
exploit a niche. It's like in real life when organisms exploit a niche that's not available for anyone else. Just because they can get to that energy when others can't.
Interesting, yeah. I think that's true, and also a bit like how we have in the ice shelf with the ice. That's a hazard which you have to kind of then work around. And another thing with the ice is you can sort of drag other cells into it. So maybe, as you're saying, if you're a radiotrophic organism, you can kind of use that as your little castle. Then you can kind of get energy there and then come out. But then if a predator is chasing you, you can rush back to the radio thing and use that to help defend. Like that's another interesting use of it.
It's like clownfish in an anemone.
Oh. Your son gets lost and you have to go out and try and find him. Like it's the classic microbe dilemma.
I can't wait until we finally have like silica cell walls and stuff. Because then you'll be able to play as like an amoeba that has a shell.
It would also be quite a nice counterplay to a pilus. If there's you can get injected, or if you get stabbed by a pilus, it's kind of cool if you can then put a silica shell on, which will then prevent that or dampen it or something.
Yeah.
We've probably answered that question about nuclear radiation.
Sounds good. Okay. The next person who asked the question is Moon Truther, and they asked a bunch of questions just like Blackjack Psych does. I'll choose a couple of them. How will currents be visualized? So we're not sure yet. I think we're gonna use like a shader to make it so it looks like there's water moving in a specific direction, if I recall. Does anyone have any input on that?
I had some prototypes of like kind of a 3D model that uses texture movement as like water flow, which could be very useful in 3D environments mostly. But I think the most important part is particles if you want to visualize currents.
Hyyrylainen, what do you think about that?
As long as I don't have to implement the particles, it's fine.
That was great.
I think BSF has a particle system, I think, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah, there is particle system, but I haven't really even looked at it, other than that they have a manual page for it.
For someone else to build on.
You've got some kind of visual representation of the currents with the compounds right now. Moving around on top of that. As long as we keep them consistent, then there's at least something.
That's true. Like right now, it affects everything except for cells. So, you know, maybe the compound clouds are enough to visualize it, but I think that's the only thing that it was that, and the fact that before I fixed this bug, if you were being pushed, it would cost ATP. And that would include being moved by a current, but that's fixed now. So I don't think there's anything preventing us from making the currents affect cells, really.
It's mostly fixed. Yeah, last time I reviewed the code, I think that the code works so that if you don't press any movement keys and you get pushed, it doesn't cost ATP. But if you are holding some movement key, it costs you ATP if you get pushed. So, but yeah, basically it almost works.
What would happen if you're holding a movement key? Shouldn't you be paying ATP to move, or is it that it only charges you different amounts based on direction or something?
It's based on your speed.
Yeah. So if you hold some movement key, it costs some ATP to move. But if you get pushed by a current at the same time, it costs more ATP to move in the same direction.
Okay.
Yeah, unless there is something in the code that stopped that from happening, but I don't think so.
Anyway, we can answer that one question. How much experience does someone need to be on the team, and by plugging that, you should consider joining the team if you have some programming experience working on some things. You can try to do some simple issue and do a pull request on GitHub to join the programming team, and submit some samples if you want to join another team. Like, I don't think we have super high requirements, but you should like know the basics, or maybe even a bit more about the area you want to work on for the game.
Yeah, that seems like.
I think that's a good way of putting it. Maybe one good thing is for the programming team, maybe try making a little game yourself. So if you made something with maybe SDL and C++, and if you could make, I don't know, Pac-Man or something, that is quite if the idea of doing that is completely daunting, then you probably wouldn't be able to work on Thrive, because Thrive is just harder than that. But if you're like, oh yeah, I can make Pac-Man, a little simple game like that, then then that's probably okay. Well, we'd like to talk to you and see what you've done and that kind of thing. That's probably about the right level, if I've got that about right.
If you can make the entirety of all 7 stages of Thrive, then we'll definitely consider.
then we'll come and join their team.
We'll pay
What the
hell?
Okay. What'd you say, Uniow? Sorry.
We'll pay in dev builds.
Not this again.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Here's a fun one. We'll go through the group and ask what our favorite game is. I'm gonna say favorite game excluding Thrive. Okay. Zuris, favorite game excluding Thrive.
Right now, it'd have to be sort of a mix between Minecraft, Stellaris, and No Man's Sky.
Someone is shooting fireworks outside my house. I'm sorry. If you can hear
Hopefully
that.
not at you.
Yeah, hopefully not at you. Like that'd be unfortunate.
Yes, that
Yes.
would be
It's like I'm being
unfortunate.
bombarded.
No.
Okay, so my favorite game, excluding Thrive. So I'm gonna exclude all games I've made. Okay. Anyway, favorite game excluding everything I've participated in will be probably Age of Empires 2. I've been playing Age of Empires 2 for as long as I can remember. Like I was
Nice choice.
super young when I first got into it, and I absolutely love that game. I also really like Species ALRE. Anyway, okay. Uniow, favorite game excluding Thrive.
I don't play much games, so I don't have anything in mind, but I really like Warframe, mostly because of like the amount of customization it can do and the art direction. And also I like Spore, because yes, I like Spore. It's almost like Thrive, but
Not quite
Not
as
as
good.
good. Yeah.
All right, TJWhale, favorite game excluding any game you've worked on.
The game, I've got about 500 hours in CK2, so I know I'm still very much a beginner in that game. Like, that's very rookie numbers, but I think probably that's my favorite game. But I also loved Civ 5. Civ 5 was just Civ 5 was such a well balanced, brilliant game. So those are probably top two for me.
I love Civ as well. Okay, Oliver, favorite game excluding anything you've worked on.
Well, I was considering Civ as well, but I think I'll go for FTL Faster Than Light. It's just got a really well balanced, very fun. Just the
Awesome.
right amount of different mechanics to make it fun. All lessons to be learned about game design, I think, that can be applicable to things like Thrive, and I have applied to Thrive in the past.
Yeah, like so with species, like the names of all the species that mutate, like I took that from that game.
You just took the FTL name list.
He said species, didn't he?
I said
yeah.
FTL.
Oh, never mind.
You just assumed I was talking about that because I said something about was used to inspire this game, and your mind immediately went to species, which is fair.
You just took the species name list and copied it into Thrive.
What we basically did was we like it's the first species in that one is primum specium, and then it mutates from that, and so our starting is primum thrivium, and then it mutates from that.
The original.
But anyway, FTL is awesome as well. Okay, hhyyrylainen, favorite game excluding anything you've worked on.
I think I'll have to go with Garry's Mod and Minecraft. I really like building stuff and building like big bases, but I haven't played either in quite a long time.
Also solid games. Dak?
I think I would say Medieval Total War, the second one. It's probably one of my favorite games with all the mods were amazing. I spent like years on that game, so yeah, Medieval 2 Total War. The best one.
Okay. Shall we
Well,
move on to
it's interesting to note that we've all got similar sorts of games as our favorites here.
Yeah, I would like to say Age of Empire, but I was like copying Untrusted, so
Except for me, who barely.
only I mentioned Spore.
yeah, of course no one mentioned Spore.
Actually not,
Nobody
no.
likes Spore.
I mean, I've mainly been having trouble getting into pretty much any game lately because, like, I've basically been having trouble with concentration and memory lately,
Okay.
which really hinders me when I'm trying to get into video games.
For sure. Okay. The Xenomorphian asks, will there be? Oh my, we've already answered that one before on it. Like every single podcast ever. Will there be parasitic infestation-based life forms like the flood from like in the game? Like that'd be pretty cool. I don't know if that's like our first priority, but I'd like to have that in the game.
There's definitely creatures on Earth that are like parasites that then brain control the host they take over. So that sort of thing is definitely possible. The way that the flood forms into one kind of giant hive mind, I think, is a little bit more suspect. Maybe it's not that crazy, but it is rare. I mean, because you could imagine an organism that, like a fungus or something, where it can grow different like cognitive processing modules, and they can sort of grow together and glom into one giant thing. But I think the problem is you only really need cognitive processing if you're moving. I think movement is what causes cognitive processing to develop, and so fungi probably would never develop it. But I'm not sure. So it's a bit of a weird one, but this doesn't break the laws of chemistry, for example. So yeah.
All right, I'll be right back, guys. So if somebody else can take over the torch of being the host for a little while, I'll be back.
Okay, the next question is how sci-fi will the game go in space stage? And as a fan of sci-fi, I think we should go all the way sci-fi, have everything everything that can happen in sci-fi in the game.
I largely agree.
Anything that goes outside of human capability is sci-fi. So we are planning to be able to get better than humans. So yeah, sci-fi all the way.
I don't think we'll quite be getting into
Yeah.
time travel somehow. Just go. You
Well,
can't go back to earlier in the game.
I don't think the game engine itself would allow that.
No.
Aren't aliens sci-fi like by themselves? That kind of means we're already entering sci-fi.
The game is a sci-fi game right now.
Yeah.
Good point.
There's one thing you could do with time travel if you wanted to. I'm not a huge fan of time travel because it always leads to paradoxes, but you could have it. It's a bit like loading a save game, right? You could say, if you run the time travel thing, it just takes you back to a previous point where you've saved your state, and then you can play off in a different direction, and do other choices. Like, that would work, but it's just like you can never kind of go forwards and look at what those changes you made did to your thing. But maybe you could do that too. I don't know. Maybe it's not so impossible. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of time travel because there's just relentless paradoxes. And also, it's the ultimate technology because once you have it, you solve every problem with it. So it's kind of a bit boring in that sense. One thing I really like in terms of like sci-fi space stuff is the ability to sort of deconstruct planets or deconstruct stars and move them around. I think that's a really cool thing that your species grows up on this tiny little planet and it's just like, trying to build these little rockets. And then 10,000 years later, you're taking Jupiter apart because you need all the pieces to build some kind of giant space station.
Or maybe you just don't like it. You just
Yeah.
want to get rid of that red spot, so you're taking the whole planet apart.
So yeah, the answer to how sci-fi will the game be? Very. That's the conclusion we've come to.
Ascension gates.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
I'm back, by the way.
Hello, Untrustedlife.
We already answered the will radiation affect creatures in some way one. So, I suppose Magic 8-Ball 04. What were we done answering that, by the way? Sorry.
I think so.
Cool. So Magic 8-Ball says, it's all fine and dandy to have kind of controls there is in micro stage, but I'm both curious and concerned as to how the devs are going to handle multicellular movement, attack, etc. when the possibilities are so expansive for the stage alone. I think we definitely need to improve our UI. And Dak's been working on that, but I also think we need to like show the hotkeys on screen, kind of like how Feed and Grow Fish does it. And then you could have the ability to bite, you would have the ability to lunge, or whatever your creature has, and it would all just be little hotkeys at the bottom of your screen you can hit. But I don't know what other people think about that. So let's go.
I kind of like the idea, to be honest, because when a game just gets up in my face to tell me to tell me how to tell me the controls, I don't tend to like it all too much. But when it's just sort of stuff like showing a list of controls in the corner, or maybe pointing at something and telling me that I could try a certain thing on it, then
I think we're getting into questions of the tutorial here.
Yes.
It was more so getting at how will movement work in later stages. Like at the moment, you point your mouse somewhere and then to move towards or away from it or sideways relative to that. Is that control scheme going to persist into later stages? Are we going to try other things?
I think that's a pretty good base control. Is WASD. Aim the mouse. Even like in first person mode that works. So
I suppose if you're like a fish swimming in the sea, it's a bit more like playing a flight simulator game or something that you have to sort of think about up and down as well as sort of movement in a plane. But yeah, I think I've played, was it World of Warplanes or something, which had, you could increase throttle or decrease throttle and then use your mouse to kind of turn around, and that worked pretty well. So I think there's quite a lot of options for 3D movement.
Feeding Growfish handles water movement really well. I hate to keep going back to them, but I love their like design like choices in terms of that stuff. I think with them it's just like you hold the mouse, and then if your mouse is lower to the screen, your creature will rotate downwards, and that way you can swim up and down.
That's cool.
But you can't like be like a balloon and go directly up or down. You have to swim in that direction downward. Anyway.
unless he's some HP little one.
Well, and I imagine we'd have creatures in Thrive that would be able to do that, though. Move directly up and down based on like a ballast or something. So we'll figure it out.
I think in general, taking mechanical ideas from other games is a really good sort of technique, because once you've seen it working, it's really convincing that it's a good system. Whereas like one experience I've had a lot is that I imagine something in my mind and then I try and build it, and then once I've built it, it's not very good, and it's just really hard to know in advance how it will feel and what it will be like and what the trade-offs are and stuff. But when it's actually physically working, that's really convincing.
Sorry.
No, I was just saying, to break the silence. Oh, what were you trying to say?
You've posted an image in the chat.
It's pretty cool.
Want to expand on that? Yeah, I'm talking to.
Okay, I don't think Uniow wants to say anything about it. Okay.
No, I can say something. I didn't know I was supposed to say something. So it's kind of like similar to what I think Untrusted was saying. So you punch your mouse and then you take aim with your mouse and move. But like not every swimming thing has the same like way of swimming. So some could change the direction very quickly, and some would have to be maybe use more power to change their direction. And we also have to keep it not annoying. So that's all I want to say about this one.
Nice.
Do we think that's a solid answer to that question? We can move on to the next one.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay. So, Omniponent Fnar asks, how do you plan to making the transition from wire to land? Hopefully smoothly. We're not gonna have a cutscene that's like, you have legs now. Woo, land.
Spore remembers.
That
You swim
scene.
out and
that-
swim out and call your brothers. Let's go.
One
the
thing I have,
mess.
one thing I have to say about spores that never really made sense. Just because
Guys,
you have like,
let's
Guys,
pop out.
turns out I can walk on land now. Everyone, come and follow me.
yeah, that
Guys, let's pop out of the water and go on land randomly. Okay.
yeah, that never made sense.
We've grown up our whole lives with legs, and only now we consider to use them.
Moon Truther, spawn cutscene PTSD from Moon Truther.
We've accidentally thrown shade on Spore now.
I mean, well, we've always wanted to keep our transitions smooth. So like, right now, how you're in the microbe stage and you start as a little prokaryotic organism of bacteria, and then you add a nucleus, and the game doesn't feel like you've transitioned, but you have transitioned to a eukaryotic status. I want it to feel like that, like as smooth as that does. Like you don't even notice you're in a eukaryotic stage now, but you are.
It does come with changes to the gameplay, because having a nucleus means you require different compounds and you require more of other ones, and it becomes a completely different challenge.
Yeah, a nucleus is expensive to basically maintain, so you need to plan ahead for it.
But yeah, I'd like all the transitions to be as smooth as that is. I don't know what everyone else thinks.
It's for cell pops through legs.
I completely agree. It'd be nice just to be able to crawl out onto the land and then like gasp for air for a bit and then crawl back in the sea, you know, and like just have it very smooth. Like, that'd be great. I'm afraid I need to go, guys. So I've had a really nice time. Thanks for hanging out, and thanks to everyone listening. It's been cool to tell you all about the stuff with Thrive, and I guess I'll catch you all soon.
All right, see you,
Yeah.
TJWhale.
Cool. See you guys later.
Thanks for being
Bye.
here.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Oh no.
Oh god.
He's left just before we get onto the "is it possible for microbes to migrate to the atmosphere" question.
So this is something I've secretly wanted in our game for ages.
Here we go.
Like for us to have like a microbe stage that happens in an atmosphere. Like, wouldn't that be so amazing? Like, okay, and the answer to that question though, even though I would ramble on about this for a while, explaining, hey, we think that maybe on Venus it's possible that microbes exist in the atmosphere. That's something that could happen. It's something that is scientifically plausible, and it's something that would be awesome. But we're going to focus on the basic microbe stage for now. But maybe eventually we'll have an atmospheric version of the microbe stage. It'd be so cool.
Changes would be made to the actual gameplay rather than just cosmetics.
Yes, like because you'd have to like how does a microbe move around in air? That opens up so many different things we could add. Like, oh, maybe they have little, maybe they get organelles that are like just air, so that it's like a ballast in the atmosphere. They could do that maybe, or like they could, or they could like instead of having a flagella, like maybe they have like those little jet things you see on bacteria, which is something that actually exists in real life. They're called slime jets. Fun fact. Stuff like that like would be so cool, but not yet. I don't know what you guys think about it.
I think we need to restrain you from making this too early.
But how do you smeltle the meltle if you're a gas bag floating on Venus?
Well, you don't have the problem with water, right? You can probably smeltle the meltle in air.
Yeah, you just do the normal thing that we did, except for your floaty.
That would be an interesting species. Like, it just comes from microbes in the air and never loses the fact that it can float.
I mean, I suppose fire would create updrafts, right?
Yeah, but like just
Um,
oh god.
but anyway, does anyone else have anything to add to that? No? Okay.
I feel like I keep derailing this stream.
The
I
stream
think we all
is-
keep derailing the stream. That's the point of it.
Yeah, it's going very slow. Zahi asks, one thing I would like to ask is whether you plan on creating procedural patches, not a procedural patch map. I know it's planned. If the plan is for procedurally generated use the system TJWhale proposed, then their stats might affect the patches themselves. I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be totally doable. If TJWhale were here, they could talk about it, but they just left.
Yeah, if only it stayed around a little bit longer.
Yeah, like I don't know exactly what the plan is for that, but procedural patch maps is definitely like it wouldn't have a procedural background, I don't think. Although we have discussed having procedural backgrounds in the past.
I really want the background story procedural. I'll probably be trying to work on it. So, yeah. Because I cannot have these pictures in the background. Because they are.
Someone's just said there are hydrothermal vents in the air, though.
Oh no.
Yeah, now I understand why you're asking that now. Okay, sorry.
Volcanoes are vents in the air.
Yeah, like and also you don't need a vent if you're on land or not in water, basically. And also it's impossible in water.
They're not
anyway.
hydrothermic vents in the air, though. Oh wait, those are called volcanoes. Never mind.
Imagine living on a planet where volcanoes would just float around in the air.
Oh god!
Oh, Lord.
If that was Earth, I would probably try to end my existence as quickly as possible so that I didn't have to live through that horror.
That would be such a cool environment to play Thrive in, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, just floating volcanoes with their own magma chamber. They
Like,
still
imagine
have
the
proper
kind of-
magma chambers, but they just float.
Imagine the kind of weird things that would evolve in that situation.
Oh god.
You're just walking along and suddenly you get covered in lava from a floating volcano.
They could have whole ecosystems on the underside of the volcano as well.
Oh god.
Okay.
And
It's
the
like a
meme
floating
part
mountain. Oh god. Anyway,
That's what Nato just said, and the meme part of the stream starts now.
No, wait. We got to the last question on the thread.
that's true.
It's fine.
Is that the last question?
Still the two other
Or it
questions
is?
by Zahi.
Oh yeah, he asked 3. Sorry, we got to the last person who asked questions.
The last question I have is whether I'm not going to answer the second one. We don't know if it'll be at the end of 2020 when we're done with the microbe stage. The last question I have is whether you plan on adding more compound sexual organelles other than the ones discussed all the time, and what might they be? Well, you know, we just sort of randomly add organelles sometimes, so I presume we'll add some random organelles. Like, I was thinking some way of doing some way of becoming a methanogen. You take methane, use that to generate energy. And also the thermoplastic is going to be making it in, and my voice is dying.
Rip your voice. You live in a volcano. Thrive.
How'd you know? No, I'm kidding.
God damn it.
What else do you think he smeltles the meltle?
Yeah. So the answer to that is we'll probably add some other random organelles to the game.
Everyone trusts his voice.
So I don't know what you guys think about that. We should probably focus on the ones we've planned, but you know.
The thing that's not a new organelle, so to speak, but functionally would be is vacuole. It's just a single hex of something, and you can add more vacuoles for extra storage. But it was a plan a while ago to like if you created a chain of factuals all containing the same compound, and kind of a metaball. I think that would be quite cool.
That would be pretty awesome.
So, like, basically, they'd all merge into one larger vacuole if put
If they were
next-
storing the same compound, yes.
Yeah, I
That,
think
that could create some interesting internals for your cell,
Yeah.
more structure. Hopefully, we will have like fleshy, deform, and stuff. So if you have like harder vacuoles inside, they can keep your structure up a bit more.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And also, cytoskeleton might be a thing because
Yeah, true.
Because we want to add shells and stuff, right? And to the microbe stage, and that requires the ability to have something like a cytoskeleton because like part of your cell would be shell and part of it would be membrane, and those would have to be different. And it could allow for a bunch of other cool things like having more control over the shape of your cell. Stuff like that. That'd be cool to add. So our stream has been going on for an hour, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we spent an hour actually doing productive stuff, answering questions and talking about the release. Do we get to answering stream questions now from people just asking in the YouTube comments?
Yeah, for sure. If I'm gonna head out, but if someone could take over that, would that be all right? Sorry.
Can't see us going on for much longer anyway. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. See you guys.
Hey.
Play Thrive.
Just be Untrustedlife's catchphrase now. He leaves somewhere, he just says, "Play Thrive."
Let's have to play with bets for Untrustedlife's voice.
It's fine. He can heal now. He doesn't have to talk on a stream. So, anyone have any pressing questions they want to ask in the YouTube chat now? Just not so quick that we can't get to any of them.
Kevin Demetrius has asked like 3. Here. So let me just get those into a single document so that I can read so I can read them all.
There's one question here that's from ONC. How do you recommend learning programming? I hope to join the team someday, but I have no skill. I only just figured out how to use a switch statement. Ian, would you mind answering that?
Yeah, they said that they already learned a switch statement, so that means they've started learn programming, which is the most important step. And I think now that you have started programming, you should just keep going. Don't switch languages or think about that kind of stuff. Just learn more about the language you have chosen, and once you feel comfortable writing some example programs, then you should try making some program that you are really interested in making, so that you can learn that way, and then just keep making projects forever, and you'll eventually get really good.
For instance, I'm actually currently on a work placement for a year doing software development, which is the non-programmer of the team, is a strange thing. Yeah, I did know some programming languages before, thanks to my degree, but I've now learnt Java to some extent. I feel like just learning a single language is probably the best thing, because then you'll know all the principles you can apply to all the others.
I'm going to have to force myself to learn Java app development in like 4 months.
Why force yourself?
I made the dumb mistake of choosing to do my HND product in a language I know nothing about for a system I've never developed apps for.
Can't say that was the wisest decision, but good luck.
Yeah, it was meant to be a stretch thing anyway. Anyway, William, if are we done answering that now, or?
If no one else has anything to say.
Yeah, I'm also trying to learn programming a bit, and it's not going fast, but I'll try eventually to learn.
Yeah, that's another thing I should say. Programming is a deal of trial and error. Trial and error. You will end up having errors. You will end up with things breaking quite a lot, actually. But it's part of the learning experience. In my uh, 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 I've always thought to myself that if I'm not having errors in something, then I should really be concerned because bugs and errors in things things means that you're actually catching stuff, catching stuff.
Hey guys,
Like,
I'll be around. I'm just not going to be the host. Okay.
okay.
All right.
Yeah. Would you like to answer the question or contribute your own answer to the question? Because several of us already have. Getting into programming.
So the way I got into programming originally was that I just was making games for fun for like years and years. So my recommendation is similar to what hhyyrylainen's recommendation was, which is just keep working on projects. You'll get really good eventually. Yeah, basically that's it. If you want to to start game development, I'd suggest picking up something simple like Game Maker Studio or whatever, but then actually write some code there instead of using the blocks that Game Maker Studio has. That'll help teach you the basics, and then you can graduate eventually to like learning C++ or learning TJWhale does a lot of Python. Python is really good for prototyping. It's useful. Just make a bunch of projects, keep at it. Eventually, you'll get really good at programming. That's what I did, and then I also went to university for it. But afterwards. But yeah, I just recommend just making a bunch of projects, just practicing. Practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect, especially when programming.
So, yeah, William Koch brought something up, and I'm not really sure what to say about this. He's mentioned that we keep saying that vacuoles are specialized and store specific things, but at the current state of the game, it doesn't really seem like he's seeing any actual evidence of this.
Well, that's because they aren't specialized. They just increase the storage capacity, and you have storage separately for each compound that is basically the same for all compounds. So you have a max capacity, and you can have each compound up to that max capacity separately.
I think in future we would want to move to a system where you would specify in the editor store in which vacuole, greater control over it, and you can have more of the storage space that you want and less of the storage space you don't.
So we'll need like an organelle editor for some chosen ones in the future.
I don't recall ever claiming we had specialized vacuoles. Like, it was a plan for a while, but we never implemented it. We never said that was a feature.
Yeah, before
think-
we had that all the compounds took like from the global pool of space. We had the idea that oh, you can't have like enough of this specific stuff because other things take up the space. And the solution for that was like specialized vacuoles. But now that we have individual storage, it's no longer so important. So the idea was is like what kind of dropped out.
I think it's worth bringing up though, when we're deciding what to do next. Could add a few more gameplay strategies and variations.
All right.
Okay, so any other questions anyone's seen in the chat that they'd like to answer?
I've not really anything I can answer, but I've pulled a few out and pulled like 6 out of the chat. Like earlier when we were speaking about about actual organelles, Hell's Raptor Nata posted a follow-up for that not too long ago. Asking what about more compounds?
Adding more compounds, you mean?
Yeah, I believe.
So there's at least 2 specific ones that I know that we want to add eventually. Chunks of sulfur. And I personally want to have methane in the game.
Yeah, that will be reasonable.
Well, theoretically, any sort of compound or element that's used in cell metabolism for some type of cell somewhere, valid argument for being in the game. If we try to add everything, we will be at that for ages. But I think we're just going to keep trying to add stuff that has gameplay value.
All right.
But if perhaps there are multiple compounds which do kind of functionally the same thing, and to use them, you'd have to use your cell in a similar way, then there's not really much point in having. We just like choose 1 or 2. A few more if it was like necessary in the chemical equations.
All right. Is anyone else going to add anything to that?
Nope, not really. I don't think.
Okay, so
I said no. Sorry.
okay, so Gamer Demetrius asked a pretty long question, long enough that it had split into 3 separate posts. In fact, I have a question. Now that the game has been developed a lot and maybe ideas for features have changed, how will you explore the planets and star system in the space age? When you scan a star system or a planet or moon, will there be a pop-up to inform you of unusual things on the planet? Like maybe you will find high ammonia or nitrogen that may be caused by life or even older nuclear power plants on the planet or moon.
That sounds reasonable.
I
like how Stellaris has those pop-ups.
Yeah, I put that question in the podcast channel, by the way. Hey.
That seems like a useful thing. As with everything involved in the space stage, anything. It's just so far in the future that we can't confidently know what's possible, what's not possible, what's a good idea, what's not a good idea. I'm going to say tentatively that sounds like a good idea. It would be useful to know about the compound and elemental makeup of a planet that you discover. And it would be cool if that was tied in some way to the ecosystem of that planet. Seems reasonable. Any other interesting questions?
One sheep just asked how to fix Thrive crashing when opening the new version, and I've already answered this twice, I think. It's caused by Intel graphics having drivers that are really bad, and we are going to try to make a test build where our graphics engine is in a legacy forward rendering support mode, which might work, and we'll test that at some point. And well, if that doesn't work, then I mean, we'll just have to ask the graphics engine developer to really look into the Intel issues and try to make the graphics engine run on Intel hardware.
There was one interesting question I saw. Oh yeah, have you guys ever tried to contact a big YouTuber?
Guys, Spike Viper just posted a new episode of Thrive.
Has he?
Yep.
Does he count as a big enough YouTuber for that to be a speak of the devil moment?
Yeah, he has 155k subscribers. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I am not thriving in Thrive, it's more like Celsim. Okay, I'll have to check that out later. Too. We've had Spike Viper on the stream.
Yep.
Main YouTube people we seem to have ended up in regular contact with. The other being Kinesis, who does lots of Thrive videos and has a lot of fun with them, as far as we can tell.
Is
Yeah,
Spike,
sorry.
Is Spike Viper playing the new release video?
I think this is the new release.
In the screenshot, in the thumbnail, he's got the partially transparent hexes in the editor. So I'm assuming it is.
Yeah, I'll have to watch this later.
Alright, so...
Let's see how many crashes he gets.
Looks like he maintained the same cell through the whole thing.
Interesting. That's maybe why he did not thrive.
He tried to put on a thylakoid right at the beginning, which was a dumb idea because there's no light in the hydrothermal vent.
Yeah, I'd say that's
Some
a
better
dumb idea.
methods of communicating those sorts of things to the player. Like, he may have put that on and not really known why it was causing problems or that it was even causing problems. My tutorial would be useful.
There definitely should be like a bar saying that your cell is really bad, don't hit finish.
You're really bad at building cells.
We'll never try.
Salt the player.
Get out.
He likes it, even though he died a bunch.
Good.
Alright, so...
Really, really, really big YouTubers. That's the best idea yet, and we've said that for a while because there's some aspects of Thrive that are still kind of unpolished that we need to sort out before we end up with something that we want to do a big outreach push with. Yeah, I think at some point we will want to try and expand out. The trouble is that if someone shows off Thrive and doesn't like it, unfinished for them or something, then that kind of dents the reputation for all time.
I think we're more fleshed out than we were.
Definitely, and it's always getting better.
Yeah, we haven't been removing features. We've just been adding or replacing. I
still think that the user experience is perhaps a bit lacking.
For sure.
Just intuitiveness and stuff. And I think if we do want to do something outreach related, like speak to big YouTubers, we need to get that nailed down first. They're used to games that have had proper teams behind them.
Just have a pop up when you
Departments.
enter a biome with 0% light that says, "This biome has no light. Chloroplasts and thylakoids will not work here."
I guess that's a decent stopgap. Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe something smaller, like abnormally low light levels, and
True.
then think about.
Would that pop-up be the first thing the player sees because they start in the event? So you hit new game, see the cutscene and pop up saying Tigalites don't work here.
Yeah, I wouldn't have it be an actual like modal style pop-up, more like something like right underneath, like just a small string of text in the upper left.
Someone
left.
created some hints in the GUI at some point, but they never made it into the game.
Yeah.
Like that, just something in the corner saying, "Don't try to use these organelles in places with low light levels." I've gonna say something. What was it?
No, that was just
I can't
me.
remember.
That
The
was
hints, I think, are like menu, if I remember, from the editor and from the main menu.
Yeah, that'd be a good thing.
Hey,
Hello.
Hey Don.
Hi,
Hello.
off to the stream.
sure. So, hey there, I'm DonGororo, an artist for this team, and that's about it.
Half already, and I think Untrustedlife in particular seems to be quite tired. So I don't think we'll be going for much longer. But you've joined for some part of it, so that's good.
Oh, cool.
He also.
So Noah of Truth wanted to know if we'd be able to make like an actual race of plant, like stuff like an actual base of plant creatures that move about and migrate and stuff.
He was also very confused about the fact that when you initially move to a biome, there's no other species there.
Yeah.
Are you referring to Spike Viper?
Yeah.
I think it's those sorts of things we need to communicate a bit better, just through the game in general.
Yeah.
We've talked about that now.
Yep.
That isn't like the intention, it's just a missing feature because the other species cannot spread to other patches, they can be somewhere where the player hasn't been. Because when you enter the editor, a new copy of your species is created, mutated, and added to the patch where you are playing in. So only patches where you have reproduced can have other species currently.
Do we have any more interesting questions?
Yeah, I've just read one out by Noah of Truth. Will we be able to get like actual races of plant creatures and stuff that can move about and migrate and stuff?
I don't see why not. I mean, it would be difficult purely on the basis that you might not get enough energy for that.
That's been talked about a bit, and I remember TJWhale saying that maybe we'll want to go the route that if you want to use photosynthesis, you have to go all out. Like more than half of your organelles need to be photosynthesis, and if you wanted to be a big creature, that you would have to have so many photosynthesis stuff that you cannot really move. You are like so super heavy, and
It also need some way to deal with the day-night cycle as well. Well, if we implement stuff like that.
Be true. Yeah. like maybe by chance you end up on a planet with like loads and loads of sunlight. You could generate things that way anyway.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
one more thing to consider that TJWhale said that there are animals on Earth that have chloroplasts in them, but they don't like really contribute much to their like energy needs. But you could just have some chloroplasts and be like a meat-eating plant that moves around at one.
Well, it's these sorts of things that are possible. Observed it on our own planet, and that's probably what Thrive is in a way.
How? By Johnny Space, but Space Creeper. I'm not sure I pronounced that name properly. Have a go at me in chat if I haven't, and if you're still here. How will we develop technology? Like, how do we start making rockets? I mean, you can't just copy a real redstone rocket. Also, how will war work out?
War will be probably like initially that you have some like pieces on a map representing armies and you throw them at each other. And there's been probably a few months ago on the community forums discussion about the tech trees, and some people really don't want tech trees. They want like automatically technologies that like depend on different aspects on your planet or something like that. And it's like a complicated thing that hasn't been really decided, and it's still quite far out in the game, so I don't think we'll have a definite answer to that question soon.
All right.
Will there be an in-game wiki, a la Civilopedia? Almost certainly, because that would be a very useful thing to have, given the number of things add to your organism, all the compounds and the processes and things. I don't remember what we decided the name would be. Did we decide on a name?
A Thrivepedia.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that
Okay.
that was
yeah.
it.
I quite liked the Thrivebury.
Thrivery.
Okay, maybe not. It sounds better in your head.
Like a library, but of three.
Thrivebury.
I prefer that.
But yeah, that's something that will almost certainly be in there. Multiple wikis at the moment. We have a wiki with lots of things about the game and its development on there for if you're just interested in wanting to find out what the plans are for a stage. Private dev wiki where we're storing some like development information. There's also the community wiki, which we should all point people in the direction of because it doesn't get much attention. And go and
It
edit that.
needs more love.
Yeah.
Also, I'd like to point out that we should try to move the wiki to the new place because, like, right now, like many team members can't like edit the wiki at all. So the new wiki that I set up some time ago allows everyone with a dev forum account to edit. So it would be much easier for different team members to keep it up to date. But so far, no one has stepped up to like really get it going.
Then transfer everything on the old wiki to the new one.
Yeah, that's a pretty big task.
Yeah. That's my only issue with the dev wiki right now is that it's super out of date.
I'd volunteer to do it if I had the time. I just don't,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
and I don't either.
Quite enjoy it. We're still going on about bananas and the Book of Thrive. That's all right.
It's the Thrivonomicon.
Oh god.
No.
There's got to be a pun somewhere on solution or simulation and database, like a wiki or a library. And to have this task, that could be something we can do with the next release.
If you,
And one of the things in the patch notes will be, we have decided that the name of the thing that we'll add at some point later will be this.
the Thrivonomicon. If you read it too far, you'll go mad from the revelations of the features we add eventually.
You'll ascend.
You have to read the whole wiki to get to the ascension stage. That's the true way.
To replace Thrive with reading the wiki, you don't have to play the game. Just read the wiki to progress through the stages.
For God's sake. That would be hilarious and also really stupid at the
Yeah.
same time.
No, actually,
Yeah.
Thrive is going to be a visual novel. That was the
The
plan
original
all
plan.
along.
Yep. Always visual novel.
It
I mean,
already is.
To be fair, like,
Because I made a visual novel about it.
of course there is.
Everything has been done.
If we do have a visual novel, can it be like Naritize's really bad Thrive comics?
Really bad. How can you call them that? It's a masterpiece, man.
Jordan Rodriguez just gave a name idea that I really like. Exopedia.
Oh, that would work.
Eh,
Then it wouldn't be the Thrivepedia. I mean, anything's better than that, right?
it should be related to Thrive somehow. Exopedia sounds a bit.
The link is a bit too tenuous.
Yep.
Plus, I'm pretty sure that
on the thriving of we call it on the thriving of species.
Plus, I'm pretty sure that. Plus, I'm pretty sure that URL is already taken. So.
Achievement for reading the whole wiki.
Oh
maybe.
God.
That's a nice idea.
Yeah, just fire off HTTP requests to every single subpage on the wiki, and suddenly, whoop, achievement.
Just like next time you open the game, read all the pages on the wiki, and you're like, I was not aware that this game was reading my internet history.
Oh, God.
I was gonna say we'd have to gather a lot of data to pull that off. We'd have to like that'd be iffy.
I was talking about.
Wait, what if we just like put a copy of the GDD into the game, and you can access it somehow, like the old GDD, and if you read through that, then you get the achievement.
Okay, that's a bit more viable.
Because none of us read the GDD, which is why all the which is why it doesn't look anything like the GDD.
I admit to having only skimmed over the game design document.
I've read through the GDD I've read through the GDD so many times. And
what is GDD?
Game design document. Someone spent
Are we
a
still
lot of
going
time,
on about this?
Someone spent a lot of time on the GDD, and they were underappreciated for it.
Fine, I'm only slightly got over it.
But don't worry, Oliver. I read through it a bunch of times because it was like Thrive.
You make up for everyone else, then you can.
Yes.
I only skimmed over it twice, about half a year before joining the dev team.
Can I get a link to it?
Yeah, let me go find it.
I think it's been updated since to be a bit more concise, which Nick managed, which is probably a good decision.
Sounds like it's a wall of text.
Kind of no,
It's actually really interesting. It's got a lot of good ideas.
Okay, there's a link now.
Also,
cool.
I guess I went through the wiki a bit, but I'm not a person who likes to read, so I didn't read anything.
I don't particularly like to read either, unless it's spiral fanfiction.
We did get osmoregulation implemented.
Nice.
Yeah.
Unless it's spiral fanfiction, I cannot get enough of that purple dragon.
It's appropriate for the stream, Zuris.
What I was only, but I said. You said that I said that I don't like speaking much unless it's spyro fanfiction. Well, reading much unless it's spyro fanfiction.
You're doing a pretty good job.
God, imagine Thrive fanfiction.
Oh God.
Oh, there's already plenty of that, isn't there? Though.
Don't.
Oh
would be-
God.
Writing
Don't.
contest.
Don't.
Thrive copy pastors. We have Dark MIDI with Narratizer's rendition of the main theme.
Wait.
Yeah, we're just doing all the weird internet subcultures, but Thrive.
Oh God.
Yeah, we really are though.
I'm trying to find Narotaisa's comic to link it here in case nobody has seen it before.
I made a series of videos ages ago called Alien Thrive.
Yeah.
It was just me playing Thrive to the freaking like I would do it at in 3-minute increments because that's the amount of time that a specific song plays for. And I forget what it was. It's the Alien Planet theme. Yeah, I would play it to the Alien Planet theme, and then when it was done, the video would be over, and I'd just do that over and over again.
You like trying to speedrun Thrive and see if you could finish the game before the song finished.
Basically. Although there are speedruns of Thrive, and someone beat my record.
No, that was fun to watch.
Be right back, guys. 1 minute.
I am not repeating that on stream, Moon Truther.
Repeating what? Oh, yeah. I understand. No, don't say that.
Oh.
Stop drawing attention to it. Let's move on.
Ratanata asked something that I'm interested in myself. Will we have floating junk in the microbe stage that we can hang on to?
Well, we have floating junk. You just can't hold on to it. You can eat it though.
Nom.
Yeah.
We
So
should
eventually.
fix the hitboxes first, because they're kind of offset, and after that we can think on getting attached to pieces of rock, because that's a very important mechanic that happens on Earth.
Oh no, they were 46 seconds. The videos, all of them.
Okay, it would have been impressive if you had beat the game at that time. I would have called hacks because you were the one who wrote the game.
I think my best run was 14:23.
Is that seconds and milliseconds?
That's minutes and seconds. Anyway, sorry.
Do we have any questions left, or should we start to end the stream?
Someone asked what's disturbance.
Yeah, that was me. I'm Jamie.
Yep, and then Tawilonix beat me hardcore.
The disturbance
Question for Thrive developers. What if a big YouTuber were to touch Life and some of his or her fans were developers? Were video game developers? And also says in the video that the game is open source.
I mean, that would be good, providing the game had made a good impression on them, which is what I alluded to earlier. But we are always on the lookout for more devs, as we shall say again. If you have skills in any facet of game development, apply with evidence of your skills, such as samples, and you can join the team and join these live streams and talk about bananas.
A lot of bananas.
Real life banana biome.
Did you talk about bananas? I missed that.
Onions.
Yeah.
Blue cells.
Ah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Damn.
We ended up somehow dropping into a Thrive all the way down meme, and then I pointed out that we can't be sure if Thrive exists in if real life is just an instance of Thrive, and then we started talking about real life banana biome.
Banana biomes are the one indicator that you are definitely in Thrive and not in real life.
Yes.
Basically, you had an existential discussion about bananas and Thrive, and I missed that.
Let's make too much noise. Maybe space will turn banana.
Man. My day is ruined now.
One last.
Sorry, I've just seen Guillaume says, "Disturbance was my favourite art until that drawing of it with eyes and teeth was made."
What? Is it possible?
Presumably, everyone has seen Narratizer's.
Give some context to that, please.
I'll try and find it. Where on earth did I put it?
Somebody please send that disturbance cursed pic.
Doing that now.
To be honest, if given permission, I will probably put that on r/cursed.
There we go. It's in the podcast chat now.
Oh god. Yep, that deserves to go on r/cursed. Yes, r/cursed image.
Its face flap looks like a giant tongue.
It's a nose.
Well, it's an ear, supposedly. It's like a big like drum.
I want to become that creature.
God damn it. Jordan Rodriguez just said, is it possible to create a creature that is amorphous?
What does that mean?
Without a clearly defined shape or form?
I guess.
Like an amoeba?
Yeah, like an amoeba. There are plans for making amoeba-like cells, or at least very fluid membranes. So, I guess.
Yeah, like blobby creatures. Yeah, that's possible.
R/I'm sorry, Untrusted. That better be a subreddit. If that's not a subreddit, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Do we need a subreddit for the Thrive memes now? Is that what that will be? Dear.
Aw, it's not a subreddit.
I want to make a Thrive meme contest now. I think that would be a great thing for community participation.
It would be.
Yeah, our Thrive memes subreddit should be I'm sorry, Untrustedlife.
The I'm sorry, John subreddit. We were actually referenced in the comments of one of their posts because someone made a Garfield.
Yeah, true.
In Spore, and the comments were like, "Oh, remember Spore? Now there's Thrive." We turned up there and said, "Hi, we're the developers," and they were like, "How did you find us?" And we said, "Well, we have analytics to look at where people come from to our website." And they were like, "Oh, the analytics," and come here and thought, "Oh, what a strange community."
Yeah.
Anyway, that's your...
What were you saying?
Smeltle the banana? Oh no. Oh no.
Smeltle the banana.
Oh god, people. Ugh.
I am actually serious about this meme competition. I think
Please do.
if we want to keep activity up on the community forums, it's that sort of nonsense that we have to.
No, yeah.
That's it.
It's a good idea. Yeah, go for it.
Someone should watch through all the podcasts we've made, pick out all the memes that happened.
Yeah, the Thrive livestream meme compilation.
Yeah, that'd be
Oh
awesome.
god. Oh lord, that would be fun.
Oh, Storm
It would-
Infection asks, will it be possible to play as something as small as a beetle? And I'll say yes. Or you'll be able to play as any size, unless it's very big and you'll die. Or
Yep, I agree.
Yes.
That's
The difficulty with that becomes maintaining an ecosystem with very big creatures and very small ones, just from a computational level.
yeah, it's a problem, but we'll have to solve it.
Smeltle the banana.
Absolutely.
Why
we-
aren't they called Thrivestream? Why aren't they called Thrivestreams? Very true.
I think one live stream was referred as that sometime. I mean, I remember seeing Thrivestream somewhere.
Yeah, we've said it several times.
Yeah,
We just
but
never
not-
called them
not-
Thrivestreams.
not officially.
Maybe we can reboot the podcast / live streams as the Thrive streams and do something slightly different with them, such as us playing Thrive.
Oh god. One question. The last question I saved a while back. Heck. What? I don't know how to read this one, so I'll just post it in the chat and let you guys read it however you want.
How will we be able to make unique tools?
Clearly referring to a species called the wee.
What?
How will
I'm
the
not
wee-
really sure. I'll ask chat how they would read this.
the wee people from the planet Nintendo?
Why you do this, Oliver?
Sorry. I'm sorry. I've just insulted someone's grammar. I'm sorry.
It was nice though.
Yeah, I
Hey.
genuinely don't know how to pass that question.
How will we be able to make unique tools is what I assume
I
they mean.
have no
And
idea, and
Well-
hopefully we won't have to in like a long time.
Hopefully we won't have to for a while. That's the answer.
Yeah.
It's like, we'll do it maybe. Hopefully, maybe.
Yeah. Hopefully, if someone can figure out how to create a procedural tool system, then I personally think it will work. But
It'd be
That's-
so impressive.
That's a problem for the next generation of devs to solve. That's not our issue.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
our children's
exactly.
problem.
Exactly. We'll
That-
die of old age
that-
before that happens.
hey, you untrusted life. That's a problem for our grandchildren when they inherit the inherit the huge mess that is the Thrive code base.
The Thrive source code shall be passed down from generation to generation.
Yeah, until finally in about 10,000 years we finally get to 1.0.
That time the world ends.
Yeah, we
But-
get Thrive 1.0 and 5 minutes later the world just shuts down.
That reminds me of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah. Yeah,
Ugh.
it's deep mind.
It's like finally I figured it out, and then like 10 seconds later, the sun explodes or whatever.
Untrusted's grandchildren might work on more earlier.
Hopefully, it won't be that long.
It'll be fun if you got out of water and just like you go to the editor and the next gameplay session just sun explodes.
Oh god.
Excellent. I have finally created the final version of Thrive. It is here. Why is there a volcano floating above me right now?
Oh no.
For DonGororo's benefit, for some reason we got onto floating volcanoes earlier.
Oh, okay. That's why that went over my head. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'll watch the whole thing tomorrow morning.
Yeah, that was a funny joke. Just floating volcanoes.
No, there's just the volcano falls on them.
Yeah.
and then it's like that scene from the oh crap, why can't I think of the name of that movie? The movie with the lion with the heart and the girl in Kansas. Shit.
Are you sure
Wizard of Oz.
The Wizard of Oz?
Yeah. The house falls on top of the witch, right? But you can see her like leg, like outside of it. So like the guy's like, finally, I've created the final version of Thrive. And then the volcano falls on top of him, but you see his hand laying outside where the volcano is, and then it's just like a disc that holds Thrive.
James Cameron wants to know your location. Hey Mood, I'd rather not have a volcano fall on me, thank you very much. I've got enough problems with a dragon.
Floating volcanoes has to be the name of this stream now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Floating volcanoes.
Sorry.
No, it wouldn't be No More Thrive, Guillermo. Is that how Guillermo see? It would be Thrive. It'd just be one single CD that holds Thrive. Right next to a volcano.
But that has to be the name of this live stream. Floating volcanoes.
Anyway, I'm so tired. I forgot the name of the Wizard of Oz. Why?
How the hell did you? Then again, I couldn't figure out what the hell you were talking about either. So
With the lion and the heart and the what else did you say?
And I said
The
the
girl
girl
in
in Kansas.
with the lion and the heart and the girl in Kansas.
It's like the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but not.
The Wizard of
The lion,
Thrive.
the heart, and the girl from Kansas. Yes.
Oh god.
Will Thrive be released on Super 8?
Oh no, if the disc got scratched, that'd be really bad.
Oh god.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I think we've answered all the serious questions, so maybe we should end the stream.
Yeah, my list of saved questions is empty, so.
Okay, yeah. Everyone
I'm sorry.
say bye, and I'll hit stop.
Bye. I hope I don't get any
Goodbye.
volcanoes on my head. Thank you very much.
See you, folks.
I hope you
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Bye.
Bye.